If a guy who's nearing 40 has never held down a job because of his OCD but sleeps and plays video games all day, do you think he is a loser? Not enough info to go on, either is suffering or using it as an excuse. Honestly, sleeping and playing video games all day every day is not as great as it sounds. Will totally depend on the level of OCD. Some people only have minor compulsions, but other people have their lives are completely dominated by it, which would suck. A few years ago, a female friend of mine was hired to be personal assistant to a CEO. Basically, her job was to open doors for him, because if he opened them he had to do it 20 times every time he went through, and his time was much too valuable. Someone sleeping and gaming all day is not having as much fun as you think they are. These are the habits of someone who is deeply depressed and frustrated from themselves. IMO. I used to play video games excessively as a way to cope. Most of the times I played I wasn't even having fun. I mean, it doesn't sound like a great life to me, but no, I wouldn't think he is a loser. I would think he is having a terrible time. That really depends on the specifics. Does it matter? Is loser a label that has any benefit in assigning? He presents as a loser, probably some deeper things happening, but he also should make attempts to take control of his life. That's easier said than done from an outsider's perspective. Is he depressed? He can turn things around, but he's really the only one that can do it for himself. If he is depressed, that is a difficult thing to get through. Enabling doesn't help. He needs some kind of encouragement to turn things around. That could come in the form of some mild tough love. It takes work. I do have pity for people like this. I dealt with depression for a few years. It absolutely sucks. We have zero idea what is going on in his mind, nor do we know any causes of his current state. It could be a combination byproduct of how he was raised, what he believes in, how he thinks, mental state, pain from past relationships, previous failures, life not going how he expected it to go, and loved ones enabling him to not grow. Probably lots of other variables too. Keep on loving him and offer some encouraging words. He may feel plenty beaten down already, and adding to that psychologically may not be helpful. It's more serious than just thinking he's a loser. He is probably suffering in ways we can't understand. Seeing as how you put the mental disorder in quotations, I'd say you have already made up your mind. If he's genuinely diagnosed with OCD and he's trying to better himself, then no. But you'd be surprised how many treatments don't work. I'm pretty resistant to a lot of therapies for my CPTSD. OCD can be crippling. Once you are in a hole, it's hard to climb out. Chronic video gaming and binge watching TV isn't what you think it is. It's a way of dissociating. It's a type of escapism. It's easy, and you lose yourself in it all. Personally, I can't watch TV or game for a long time. It makes me feel sick. It fries your dopamine receptors. I can't explain why it makes me sick, but it does. It's not as fun as you think. I know someone like this. He's the father of my oldest child. I loved him so much 20 years ago, and I still do, even though being in a relationship would be unhealthy for me. He's an amazing person with the funniest sense of humor I've ever encountered. He's good looking and more intelligent than most people. He's kind and compassionate. He loves his daughter even though he's not really capable of caring for her. Although I don't really understand his disability, I do see how incapable he is of keeping a job. I've watched him try over the years and he simply can't. There's something that makes it impossible. Is he a loser? Absolutely not. He's a beautiful human worth love and dignity. Even if that love can't be from me, I would be hesitant to say anyone is a loser until you really take time to get to know them. OCD is not a funny thing or one to make fun of / put down. I hope they can make ends meet in someone. I think that there is a lot more to the story, but if this guy is disabled, he's not a loser. PPL spelling loser as looser woozy face. No, he's not a loser. It's not his fault. OCD can and will do that to a person, and they have no say in it without external help, as this way of life is harmful to him. But he probably has no idea nor the resources to get out of it. He needs to go to therapy and get correct meds. Also needs a good support system to help him with small everyday stuff that we consider a no-brainer, and help reassure him from time to time. In short, he needs medical help and kindness and understanding to help him reshape his life to work with his OCD. I've been designing my life around my OCD from the time I was 13 and started dealing with crippling obsessions and intrusive thoughts. This involved building a fully remote virtual business before it was cool, ensuring I'd never had to either meet clients, employees, or leave my house for that matter, in addition to a number of other changes to handle my compulsions. Honestly, it's very hard. If I'm on medications, I feel drowsy and lethargic, leaving me unable to focus, and if I'm not, the intrusive thoughts drain me of time and energy. It's easy for people like us to get pulled into things like trading, crypto, and gambling. We also love gaming, but I'm fairly certain they are all ways of handling our depression. I'm pretty certain your cousin is going through the same, so you need to handle it very sensitively. I've made peace with the fact that some people just aren't cut out for the workforce. I will eventually have to bow out myself due to health problems. Mental health problems are real, and the effect they have on people can be truly debilitating. It sucks about him thinking therapy is a waste of time. Usually for me that's a sign you don't have the right therapist yet. I would encourage him to keep trying with different therapists if you can find one. He needs therapy for depression on top of the OCD. Depression can be paralyzing. Take it from someone who knows. It can take me several weeks for me to do a certain house chore/self-hygiene thing, to the point I get nightmares about it, and eventually complete that task after 1-4 months. I can't imagine what that's like for someone with diagnosed OCD. It's easy to become dependent on family. I have quite a few family members who help me, dare I say enable me, but I am actually aware of this. If not consciously, then unconsciously, which, in turn, affects me negatively too, because I don't want to be dependent on them for the rest of my life either. So I do what I can. Nevertheless, therapy is the way. But how to convince them? Person female. But I do think it's quite predatory to take money as a loan from 70-year-old parents just to invest in crypto. That's a pretty shitty move, especially when they don't have the means to return it, edit a bunch of typos. Is it a self-diagnosis, or is it something that has been assessed by a professional? Because there's a big difference. I've only ever met one person who I actually am convinced actually had OCD, and it was a debilitating disorder. This person had to sleep with her shoes on, snap her fingers like 7 times after washing her hands, wear plastic gloves every time she went to the bathroom. It was quite disruptive to her life, but she couldn't control it. Her routines were obnoxious to try and follow along with, and I felt so bad for her. One of the toughest patients I ever had, but she was nice deep down. Just a really difficult disorder to have/deal with. If it's some guy who just sucks and says stuff like, yeah, I got OCD, like every time someone tells me to pick up the mop and mop the floor I have to go outside and smoke a cigarette, it's like my disorder, man, then that's just an idiot loser. I hate to sound like an elderly Puritan, but hard work is a great thing for anxiety, depression, mental illness. It is not the treatment, but it can be a very impressive part of treatment along with therapy and medication. Not to mention, someday mom and dad will be gone and he will have to find a way to support himself. I think the moniker loser doesn't mean much past the age of 20. At 40 it doesn't matter what the fuck you do every day. You're thoroughly living your life however you want. I'm 38 and have watched multiple friends work every day of their adult lives and died not even making it 40. I'm certainly not calling them winners over the dude who made it to 40 and enjoying his life.